Lost your tour group, Grandpa. The mocking voice sliced through the cool morning haze above the Army training range. Sergeant Evans, broad-shouldered, jaw tight, every inch of his posture radiating command, stood in front of the old man with a smirk that dared him to answer. Behind Evans, a line of recruits struggled to keep straight faces. A few snorted into their sleeves, grateful for the unscheduled comedy break. But the old man didn't move. Glenn Whitman, 84 years old, stood at parade rest as if the decades hadn't touched him. His back straight, his hands steady at his sides, his faded blue eyes calm and unreadable. He wore a sun-bleached red jacket and worn khaki pants, nothing about him suggesting danger. Only time. Evans paced around him like a predator, boots crunching in the gravel. "This is an active firing range, not a senior tour stop," he sneered. "Are you even listening, old-timer? You shouldn't be here." The recruits chuckled again. To them it was harmless fun. An old man confused, a tough sergeant showing authority. None of them noticed how perfectly still the old man stood, how natural that formation was for him. "I know exactly where I am, Sergeant," Glenn said quietly. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made a few of the recruits fall silent. Evans blinked. He was used to trembling voices, excuses, fear, not calm defiance. "You know where you are?" Evans shot back, stepping closer. "Then you know you're trespassing on a United States Army installation. You're disrupting federal training, and that's a serious crime. I'll ask one last time, what are you doing in my formation?" Glenn's gaze drifted past the sergeant, toward the distant ridgeline shimmering under the sun. "I'm here to remember." "Remember?" Evans barked out a laugh and turned to the recruits. "You hear that, boys? Grandpa here wants to take a walk down memory lane. Maybe he forgot where he parked his horse and buggy." The laughter this time was louder, meaner. Evans grinned, the ringleader in full control of his show. He leaned in until their faces were inches apart. "Your little nostalgia trip ends now. Show me some ID." Glenn moved slowly, reaching into his jacket pocket. Evans's hand twitched toward his holster in exaggerated caution. The old man didn't even blink. He simply drew out a cracked leather wallet that looked older than he was. It took him a while to open it. His fingers trembled slightly with age. Evans rolled his eyes. "Come on, Grandpa. The sun's not getting any cooler. These soldiers have better things to do." Corporal Davies, the younger instructor nearby, hesitated. "Sergeant, maybe I should escort him out. He's not hurting anyone." Evans didn't even look at him. "Stay out of this, Corporal. This is a security matter, a lesson in awareness." He snatched the license from Glenn's hands and barked a dry laugh. "Glenn Whitman, this piece of plastic doesn't give you the right to wander onto federal property. You're a distraction, old man. A liability." Evans flicked the man's jacket disdainfully. "What even is this thing? Some thrift store? Find." He ran his thumb along the sleeve patch, a circle of faded green with faint gray stitching. "And this ugly thing? Never seen anything like it." As his finger pressed the fabric, something in the air shifted. The bright field vanished. For a fraction of a second, Evans saw another world. Humid, dark, and filled with the smell of rain and gunpowder. He heard distant rotors, shouted orders, the scream of men in the jungle. The same patch, only newer, vibrant, a gray bird on green cloth, soaked in mud and blood. And then it was gone. Evans blinked and staggered. The field returned. Glenn stood exactly as before, still and calm. From 100 yards away, Lieutenant Miller lowered his binoculars. He'd been observing the drill, but now his gut told him something was wrong. Evans was known as tough, even brutal, but this looked different. Cruel. Miller hesitated. Intervening would mean publicly challenging a senior NCO, and that could end his career. Still, he couldn't ignore what he was seeing. When Evans shouted again, "Who the hell are you, Whitman?" Miller's instincts took over. He pulled out his phone and dialed the command sergeant major's office. "This is Lieutenant Miller, sir," he said carefully. "I'm at range 7. We have a situation." The voice on the other end sighed. "Is someone injured?" "No, Sergeant Major. It's There's an elderly man here. Sergeant Evans is confronting him. It's escalating. Then tell Evans to escort him off base and file a trespassing report. That's standard procedure. Miller hesitated. Sir, the man's name is Glenn Whitman. There was silence. Heavy, tense silence. Lieutenant, the voice came back, clipped and urgent. Repeat that name. Glenn Whitman, sir. Sergeant Evans read it from his ID. Another pause, then the voice hardened. Lieutenant, do not let anyone touch him. Do not move him. Maintain visual contact until I arrive. That's a direct order. We're on our way. Miller froze, phone trembling in his hand. Whoever this old man was, he'd just changed the air on the entire base. Inside headquarters, Command Sergeant Major Thompson stood perfectly still, the receiver pressed to his ear. The name echoed in his mind like a ghost. He hadn't heard it in decades. Not since a classified briefing during his early years in special operations. He'd thought it was a myth. He strode into the adjoining office without knocking. General Wallace, sir, he said sharply. We have a code Phoenix. The general's pen froze mid-stroke. That's not possible. That protocol's been inactive since 1974. It's not a myth, sir. He's here. Range 7. For a moment, General Wallace didn't speak. Then he stood, his height filling the room. Get my vehicle and the honor guard. Full dress. Out on the firing field, Evans was shouting again. His patience had run out. You're done, old man. You're under arrest. He grabbed Glenn's arm. The recruits stiffened. They'd stopped laughing long ago. Something about this felt wrong. Before anyone could speak, the sound of engines grew behind them. Slow, deliberate, controlled. 3 black command vehicles rolled onto the range and stopped in perfect alignment. No sirens, no rush, just authority. The doors opened. Out stepped Major General Wallace, Command Sergeant Major Thompson, and 4 soldiers in immaculate dress blues, rifles at their sides. Every recruit went silent. Evans froze mid-motion, still gripping Glenn's arm. His mind scrambled. A general? Here? For this? General Wallace didn't glance at him. He walked straight to the old man, his eyes locked forward. When he stopped 3 feet away, he raised his hand in salute. Sharp, precise, absolute. Mr. Whitman, he said, voice carrying across the range. It's an honor to have you on my base, sir. A ripple of disbelief went through the formation. The recruits stared. Their commanding general, the man they feared and admired, was saluting an elderly stranger. Evans' hand fell away. His mouth went dry. Glenn nodded slightly, a quiet acknowledgement. General, he murmured. The salute dropped, and Wallace turned to face the recruits. His tone shifted, icy and deliberate. For those who don't understand, he began, this man is Sergeant Glenn Whitman. He served in MAC VSOG, a covert operations group so secret that for years, the government denied it ever existed. This patch, he gestured to the faded circle on Glenn's sleeve, belonged to the Phantoms, a team with a 100% casualty rate. Every mission across the border, every man either wounded or killed. He stepped closer. In 1968, during an extraction in enemy territory, Whitman's 12-man unit was overrun. For 3 days, he held his position, alone, calling airstrikes on his own coordinates. When reinforcements arrived, he was the only one left. He guarded the bodies of his team until the last bullet stopped. The general's voice wavered slightly. He received the Distinguished Service Cross. The Medal of Honor was classified for 30 years. The recruit stood frozen. Even Evans couldn't move. Wallace's eyes turned cold again. Sergeant Evans, he said, you just laid hands on a living legend. The ground you stand on was paid for by his generation. You humiliated him. You failed your uniform. Evans' lips trembled. Sir, you will report to my office at 1600 hours. Bring your commanding officer. You are relieved of your post effective immediately. The words hit like gunfire. Evans could barely breathe. Then Glenn spoke softly. General, he said, the boy was just doing his duty. He's young, fiery, We needed that once. Don't destroy him. Teach him. The general's eyes softened. Your mercy does you honor, Sergeant Whitman. As always. For a moment, the entire range stood in reverent silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. Weeks later, the event on Range 7 had become legend. The Whitman Protocol was now mandatory in every leadership course, a reminder that respect for veterans wasn't optional, it was sacred. The base newspaper ran a full-page story about the Phantoms. Their insignia, once forgotten, was finally displayed in the officers' hall. Sergeant Evans wasn't court-martialed. Glenn's word had saved him. But his punishment was quiet and final, reassigned to a records office far from any training ground, surrounded by silence and dust. One rainy afternoon, Evans spotted Glenn sitting on a bench outside the commissary, waiting for the storm to pass. Evans hesitated. His chest tightened. He wanted to leave, to avoid the weight of shame, but he couldn't. He walked over. Glenn looked up, his pale eyes calm and kind. No anger, no judgment, just a small nod, enough to say everything. Evans returned the gesture, throat tight, and walked away into the rain. Later, a young officer asked General Wallace why the old man had been at the range that day. The general's answer was quiet. It was the anniversary of the Phantom's final mission. Every year he comes here to stand in formation one last time, not with recruits, but with the ghosts of the brothers he never left behind.